Edo period divorce, known as Sankon-han, was not simply a means for husbands to easily dismiss their wives. Surprisingly, there was a side to it where wives' rights were strongly protected. Divorce initiated by the husband was generally not permitted, except in cases of the wife's infidelity or severe illness. It was not uncommon for a husband to face social ostracism or murahachibu if he arbitrarily expelled his wife. Yet, an even more astonishing truth lay hidden beneath this. What was the method by which wives themselves could initiate divorce? In this video, we will explain why Sankon-han could sometimes be disadvantageous for husbands, how wives strategically pursued divorce, and what became of women's lives afterward. Now, let's delve into that truth. The main feature also elaborates on insights into marital relationships that resonate even today. Sankon-han was the common name for a letter of divorce given by a husband to his wife. It earned this name because it was so simple it could be completed in just 3.5 lines. However, this simple document did not instantly become valid through the husband's unilateral declaration. On the contrary, it was exceedingly difficult for a husband to expel his wife. For a husband to divorce his wife, a legitimate reason, known as the shichikyo or 7 discardable conditions, was required. These included infertility, theft, illness, or the wife's infidelity. If a husband attempted to unilaterally dismiss his wife without a shichikyo reason, social sanctions awaited him. He would have to face condemnation from villagers and potentially even murahachibu, or social ostracism. Especially if the wife's family was influential, a husband could not even issue a letter of divorce without considerable resolve and preparation. Discussions between both families were indispensable. If the wife's family refused the divorce, the husband could not send his wife back to her home, leading to continued domestic tension. It was virtually impossible for a husband to divorce his wife on his own. So why would a husband wish to divorce his wife? Common reasons included infertility, preventing the birth of a male heir, or a mismatch between the wife's family background and the husband's household. However, without a clear shichikyo reason, a husband could not easily expel his wife. It was generally believed that a wife, too, could not easily leave her husband's side. Understanding that Sankon-han was not valid through a husband's unilateral declaration would significantly alter one's perception of Edo divorce circumstances. Unilateral divorce by the husband was impossible. So, what path could a wife take to leave her husband of her own accord? Divorce initiated by the wife was called Enkiri, and this was by no means uncommon in the Edo period. If a husband committed misconduct, his wife also had the right to seek a divorce. Reasons included a husband's violence, infidelity, laziness, or unfair treatment of the wife's family. In such cases, a wife could compel her husband to divorce by returning to her family home. If a wife sought refuge at her family home, her family would intervene between her husband and his family to initiate discussions, protecting their daughter. This role as the negotiator was crucial. In many cases, the husband would yield to the family's pressure and resolve the matter by issuing a letter of divorce to his wife. The wife's family sometimes imposed favorable terms on the husband's side for their daughter's new life. However, there were instances where the husband stubbornly refused to write the letter of divorce. In such cases, the wife remained at her family home, legally still bound as husband and wife. In this state, the wife could not remarry. It wasn't as simple as filing a divorce registration form as it is in modern times. This is where the Enkiri-dera, or divorce temple, emerged, serving as a last resort for women. These were special places to completely sever ties with a husband. A wife's return to her family home alone could put a husband in a difficult situation. But if he stubbornly refused to comply, a wife had one ultimate recourse, the Enkiri-dera. What exactly were these divorce temples? Particularly famous Enkiri-dera were Tokiji Temple in Kamakura and Mantakuji Temple in Ueno Province, Gunma. These were official Kakekomi-dera, or refuge temples, sanctioned by the shogun. If a woman who had fled from her husband's side sought refuge at one of these temples, her husband could no longer retrieve her. The temples served as sanctuaries and protective havens for women. A special law known as Enkiri-dera law applied to these temples. If a woman stayed at the temple for a certain period, typically 2 to 3 years, her divorce from her husband would automatically be finalized. The temples also acted as mediators, urging husbands to write letters of divorce. Backed by the temple's authority, husbands were often compelled to eventually issue the divorce letter. Even if a husband did not write the divorce letter, a woman could effectively start a new life once she left the temple. Remarriage was also permitted. Life at the temple was by no means easy. Days of ascetic training and labor awaited, but it was the sole path of hope for escaping from a husband's violence or poverty. Simply by seeking refuge at an Enkiri-dera, divorce could be granted with the shogunate's official approval. This was a truly groundbreaking system, even from our modern perspective. Enkiri-dera served as a woman's final sanctuary, but after a divorce was finalized, how did women of that era live their lives? Was remarriage permitted? Surprisingly, remarriage for women after divorce in the Edo period was far more flexible than in modern times. Especially if there were no children, remarriage was relatively easy. New spouses often did not insist on a first marriage and frequently accepted women with children. A flexible attitude was observed regarding partners for building a family. It was not uncommon for women, known as demodori, to repeatedly divorce and remarry. This demonstrates a level of societal tolerance for divorce that is unimaginable today. While there were restrictions on remarriage within the samurai class, among commoners, women who divorced rarely faced social isolation. Instead, it was often seen as an opportunity to rebuild their lives. The remarriage of widows, meaning women who had lost their husbands, was also actively encouraged. Especially for young women, recommending remarriage was considered a societal kindness. After divorce, it was common for women to acquire skills and become self-reliant. For example, jobs suitable for women, such as hairstyling, sewing, or peddling, were diverse. Thus, for women in the Edo period, divorce was not necessarily an unfortunate event. Rather, it was often an effective means to escape difficult circumstances and embark on a new life. Behind this more flexible view of divorce than in modern times, there might have been a communal consciousness of protecting the family unit, combined with Edo wisdom that sought to respect individual happiness. Women in the Edo period were far stronger than we might imagine. They possessed the resilience to tenaciously live for their own rights and future. Remarriage was easier than today. So, what lessons can we draw when comparing it to our modern divorce circumstances? First, why could Sankon-han sometimes be disadvantageous for husbands? It was due to the Shichikyo principle, powerful intervention from the wife's family, and social sanctions like murahachibu. Next, how did wives strategically pursue divorce? They fled to their family homes citing their husband's misconduct, leveraged their family's negotiating power, or utilized the official Kakekomi-dera system. And what became of women's lives after divorce? Surprisingly, remarriage was relatively free, and avenues for self-reliance by acquiring skills were also open. It's clear that divorce in the Edo period, more than we might imagine today, strongly protected women's rights and featured societal mechanisms to support women's lives as a whole. This might have been the wisdom of our predecessors, who sought to maintain a balance in human relationships and respect individual dignity, even during an era of strong family systems and patriarchy. Perhaps the people of Edo held a far more flexible perspective on the nature of family than we do today.